Imagine walking through a city where everyone's awake, but no one's really alive. Faces glow under the light of their screens, fingers move in rhythm, scroll, tap, swipe, but eyes remain empty. You hear laughter, see smiles, yet there's a quiet sickness in the air, a feeling that something, somewhere, is breaking. The world has never been louder, yet human thought has never been quieter. We live surrounded by infinite information, yet starved for truth. We know everything that's trending, but almost nothing about ourselves. Conversations have become performances, opinions, decorations, and wisdom, once our greatest treasure, now feels like an ancient language we've forgotten how to speak. Once, knowledge was a pursuit. Now, it's a product, packaged, simplified, sold to us in 15-second fragments. We've mistaken speed for intelligence, noise for connection, stimulation for meaning. And as we chase the next clip, the next like, the next distraction, our minds shrink, our attention dissolves, our souls grow numb. Something is unraveling, not out there in the chaos of politics or technology, but here, in the silent decay of the human mind. The greatest tragedy of our time is not that we are surrounded by stupidity, but that we've learned to enjoy it. So pause for a moment. Look around you. The lights are bright, the feeds are endless, the noise is intoxicating. But beneath it all, a question hums like static in the background of every thought. We live in an era that worships information, an age where the entire archive of human knowledge fits in the palm of your hand. We carry more data than the greatest minds of history could have ever imagined, and yet, somehow, we understand less. This is the great paradox of our time. We have access to everything and the meaning of nothing. The mind is overwhelmed, not awakened. We scroll through oceans of content, but rarely dive beneath the surface. We mistake awareness for understanding, opinions for insight, and algorithms for wisdom. Once, knowledge was a sacred act, earned through patience, discipline, reflection. Today, it's consumed like fast food, instantly gratifying, instantly forgotten. Our ancestors sought wisdom to understand the soul. We seek information to fill the silence. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche warned us long ago about this fate. He called it the last man, a creature of comfort, terrified of depth, living for ease and avoiding everything that demands true thought. Look around. He is everywhere, smiling in selfies, arguing in comments, living in a digital world that rewards convenience over consciousness. And decades later, Neil Postman foresaw this too. He said we would not be destroyed by what we fear, but by what we love. That one day, we would amuse ourselves to death, that the screen would become our mirror and entertainment, our new God. The prophecy has come true. We no longer think, we consume. We no longer learn, we scroll. And in that endless stream of shallow information, our ability to feel, wonder, and reason quietly fades away. The modern world no longer competes for your money first. It competes for your attention. Every ping, every vibration, every red notification is a hook designed to pull you back into the machine. You think you are scrolling freely, but the truth is, the scroll owns you. Behind every platform lies a team of engineers and psychologists whose job isn't to enlighten you, but to keep you addicted, to make you stay just one more second, click one more link, feel one more tiny rush of dopamine. Human attention has become the most valuable currency in the world, and you are the product being sold. Every second you spend staring at a screen is a second you give away, a fragment of your life traded for distraction. And yet, we welcome it. We tell ourselves it's harmless, that we're just catching up or relaxing. But each moment of attention stolen is a piece of our capacity for deep thought, eroded quietly, invisibly, until all that remains is noise. Psychologist Daniel Kahneman once explained that the human brain is lazy by nature. It prefers the path of least resistance, fast, easy thinking over slow, deliberate reasoning. And our society has learned to exploit that weakness perfectly. Everything around us is built to make thinking optional. The ads are shorter, the content faster, the headlines louder. You no longer need to question, reflect, or understand. You only need to react. This is not a coincidence. It's design, the architecture of distraction, the quiet engineering of stupidity. Our minds are being trained, moment by moment, to prefer shallowness, because shallowness is profitable. The less you think, the more you consume. The more you react, the more predictable you become. And in a world where predictability means profit, your distraction isn't a flaw, it's a feature. So, ask yourself, how much of your life is truly yours? How much of your mind still belongs to you? And how much has already been rented out to the highest bidder? Once, wisdom was the highest form of wealth. It was earned slowly, through dialogue, reflection, and silence. The philosophers of Athens debated beneath the open sky for years before daring to call something truth. The sages of the East spent lifetimes observing the mind, learning that real intelligence has little to do with information and everything to do with understanding. But somewhere along the way, wisdom lost its value. In its place rose a new god, attention. Today, those who speak the loudest are heard the most. It doesn't matter whether what they say carries depth or meaning, only that it provokes, entertains, or divides. The modern agora is no longer the marketplace of ideas. It is the comment section. The philosopher has been replaced by the influencer, the student by the follower, the pursuit of truth by the pursuit of engagement. And in this exchange, something sacred was lost, the art of thinking slowly, carefully, humbly. Plato once said that thinking is the soul's conversation with itself, but that inner dialogue is dying. Silence has become unbearable. We drown it in playlists, podcasts, and endless streams of distraction because facing our own thoughts feels uncomfortable. Reflection demands effort, and effort no longer fits the rhythm of our time. It's easier to react than to reason, easier to mimic than to understand. And yet, beneath the flood of noise, there's a quiet hunger that never fades, a hunger for meaning. The mind knows what it's missing, even if the body won't stop scrolling. We sense that something inside us has gone dormant, the part that once questioned, doubted, sought, and yearned. That faint whisper still calls to us in the still moments, asking, when did we stop thinking for ourselves? When did wisdom become outdated? And when did noise become the measure of truth? Depth once defined what it meant to be human. To think deeply was not a luxury, it was a duty. Entire civilizations were built on the understanding that reflection was sacred, that to know the world, you must first know yourself. But today, depth feels foreign, even inconvenient. We live in a time where everything must fit into a caption, a soundbite, or a trend. The world has been flattened into content, and we, the creators and consumers of it, have become flatter too. Walk into a classroom, and you'll see the symptoms of this decline. Students memorize, perform, and repeat, not to learn, but to survive within a system that values answers over understanding. Education has become a checklist, not a transformation. As philosopher John Dewey once said, education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself. Yet what we call education now feels more like programming, a training in compliance rather than curiosity. The child who asks too many questions is labeled a distraction, and the adult who thinks too deeply is called difficult. Our society rewards certainty, not curiosity. We crave quick conclusions, even when they're wrong, because the pause of uncertainty feels unbearable. But what we forget is that ambiguity is where wisdom is born. Carl Jung taught that growth begins in contradiction, in confronting the tension between who we are and who we pretend to be. Yet we've built a culture allergic to discomfort, one that worships simplicity and flees from complexity. And so, we have become a civilization of surfaces. We no longer look for truth, we look for confirmation. We no longer explore ideas, we collect opinions that mirror our own. The deep thinker, once respected, even feared, is now dismissed as cynical or strange. But maybe that's the cost of living in an age that confuses brightness with brilliance and distraction with depth. We are drowning in information, yet starving for understanding. Every second, millions of words are written, uploaded, and forgotten, a tidal wave of data that gives the illusion of intelligence. But what good is knowledge without comprehension? What good is information that never transforms into wisdom? We live in a time where everyone seems to know something, yet few seem to understand anything. The illusion of knowledge has become the most dangerous deception of the modern age. Online, confidence has replaced competence. People speak not to share truth, but to be heard, not to illuminate, but to perform. The loudest voices dominate the stage, while the wisest ones are drowned out in the noise. It no longer matters if something is true, only if it is trending. And as philosopher Stephen Hawking once warned, The greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance. It is the illusion of knowledge. Scroll through your feeds and watch this illusion in real time. Outrage spreads faster than reason. Emotion travels quicker than evidence. People argue passionately about things they barely understand, building empires of certainty on foundations of confusion. It's not that truth has vanished. It's that we've stopped looking for it. We've replaced investigation with reaction, dialogue with debate, curiosity with condemnation. And yet, there's something even darker beneath it all. The illusion of knowledge doesn't just make us ignorant. It makes us unteachable. When you believe you already know, you stop seeking. When you're certain, you stop listening. The modern world has convinced us that wisdom is a weakness, that doubt is a flaw, that humility is outdated. But history tells a different story. Every great mind began with the courage to say, "I don't know." And until we reclaim that humility, no amount of information will ever make us wise. It's easy to believe that society's decline is accidental, that stupidity simply spreads on its own, like a virus of carelessness. But look closer and you'll see design. The decay of thought is not random, it's orchestrated. Because a distracted population is a controllable one. The more we react, the less we reflect. The more we consume, the less we question. Our attention, once the most powerful instrument of awareness, has been weaponized against us. Governments, corporations, and media conglomerates all understand one truth: that control no longer requires force, only focus. If they can direct what you pay attention to, they can quietly shape what you believe. The Roman poet Juvenal called it bread and circuses. Give the masses entertainment and comfort, and they will forget to demand meaning. Today, the bread is convenience, and the circus is content. We are fed endless distractions, each one designed to keep us docile, comfortable, and numb. Philosopher Michel Foucault warned that power rarely shows itself through violence. It hides in systems that shape how we think. In our time, those systems are algorithms, headlines, and notifications, invisible forces that whisper what to desire, what to fear, what to hate. And the more we obey, the less we notice the walls closing in. This isn't the fall of intelligence, it's the cultivation of ignorance. A society that thinks deeply cannot be easily ruled. But a society trained to scroll, react, and forget, that is the perfect population, loud, emotional, distracted, and harmless. The tragedy is not that we're being controlled, but that we've mistaken control for choice. We call it freedom, yet our minds are no longer our own. Somewhere along the digital evolution, humanity turned its gaze inward and got stuck there. The camera flipped, and suddenly, the world became a stage built for one. We began to live not for experience, but through performance. Every thought, every smile, every tragedy became content. What once connected us to one another now separates us behind filters, metrics, and masks. And in this new theater of the self, meaning quietly disappeared. The historian Christopher Lasch called it the culture of narcissism, a society obsessed with appearances, validation, and the desperate need to be seen. But beneath the glitter of self-expression lies a profound emptiness. The pursuit of truth has been replaced by the pursuit of visibility. We no longer ask, is it real? We ask, does it get engagement? In this world, the thinker is invisible, while the performer becomes a prophet. Our digital lives run on applause. Each like, each share, each comment feeds a small illusion of worth, a flicker of connection that fades the moment the screen goes dark. And like addicts, we return for another dose, another momentary confirmation that we exist. But what happens when our sense of self depends on the attention of strangers? When the mirror replaces the mind, we begin to value ourselves not by who we are, but by how well we can be consumed. And this is where the trap tightens. When attention becomes the ultimate currency, truth becomes negotiable. Lies that flatter spread faster than truths that challenge. Outrage becomes entertainment, and stupidity becomes profitable. As Noam Chomsky once said, propaganda is to democracy what violence is to dictatorship. In our age, the propaganda isn't forced upon us. It's chosen, curated, shared, and liked. We willingly build the walls of our own illusion, brick by digital brick, smiling all the while. But if the decline of thought has been engineered, it can also be undone. Every illusion can be shattered once it's seen clearly. The first step toward freedom is not rebellion, it's awareness. To simply notice the invisible hands that guide your focus, the subtle ways your time and attention are stolen, is to begin the process of awakening. The war for your mind isn't fought with weapons, it's fought with choices. Every moment you pause before reacting, every time you question before believing, you reclaim a fragment of yourself that the world tried to take. Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived the Holocaust, once wrote that between stimulus and response, there lies a space, and in that space lies our power to choose. That space is where freedom begins. In a society built to provoke instant reaction, the act of slowing down becomes an act of resistance. The ability to think, to breathe, to reflect before responding is not weakness. It is rebellion in its purest form. But resistance requires discipline. Wisdom is not stumbled upon, it's cultivated. It's found in what you consume, in what you give your attention to, and in what you choose to ignore. The mind grows where it is watered. Read slowly, listen deeply, speak less, question more. Seek voices that challenge your comfort, not the ones that echo your beliefs. Each of these is a small revolution against the algorithmic current pulling you toward shallowness. Silence, too, has power. In a world allergic to stillness, silence is subversive. Soren Kierkegaard warned that the noise of the world prevents us from knowing ourselves. When you sit quietly, without distraction, without noise, you begin to hear the faint sound of your own mind waking up. That stillness, that clarity, is the first breath of freedom. The greatest danger is not that society is becoming stupid, it is that we have accepted it as normal. We scroll through decay with a smile, laughing at the very systems that quietly consume us. But history has always belonged to the few who refused to conform, the ones who saw through the illusion and dared to live differently. Socrates was condemned for questioning comfort. Galileo was silenced for revealing truth. Martin Luther King Jr. was murdered for dreaming of justice. Wisdom has never belonged to the crowd. It has always been preserved by the courageous few. So the question now is not, why is society becoming stupid? The question is, will you allow yourself to join it? The world will tempt you with noise, comfort, and distraction. It will reward conformity, punish curiosity, and mock reflection. But remember, every time you choose depth over distraction, you are doing something radical. You are declaring that your mind is your own. You are reclaiming the quiet strength that technology, politics, and propaganda try to drown out. The path forward will not be easy. Thinking for yourself is not glamorous. It is lonely, demanding, often painful. But it is also the only path that leads to freedom. True intelligence is not measured by what you know, but by how deeply you're willing to understand. In a culture that profits from your passivity, even the act of genuine thought is a form of defiance. So, step back from the noise. Sit in the silence that everyone else runs from. Feel the discomfort of your own mind stretching awake. This is where wisdom begins, not in the scroll, but in the stillness. The choice is yours. Fade into the chorus of distraction or rise into the rare, clear air of awareness. Because in a world addicted to noise, attention itself has become sacred, and those who learn to protect it become the last truly free minds on earth. If this message spoke to you, if somewhere in these words you felt that faint spark of recognition, that reminder of what you've quietly known all along, then protect it. Don't let it fade back into the noise. Keep it alive, because awakening begins with one thought, but it grows through community. So if you believe in depth over distraction and wisdom over noise, then be part of this movement. Subscribe to this channel. Like this video so more minds can wake up. Share it with someone who's ready to see the world for what it truly is. Together, we can rebuild a culture that thinks, feels, and questions again, one mind at a time. Because in a world that wants you asleep, choosing to think is the most revolutionary act of all.